Hi everybody, this is a flashback to the very first time that I tried to smelt metal from ore. I had collected about 40 pounds of greenish rocks from a hike that I went on with some friends, and then I proceeded to dig a pit and attempt to smelt it. Learn from my successes, learn from my failures. Today we're going to do a copper smelt. I have here in my hand a piece of copper ore that I found in the mountains a few days ago. Collected about 20 pounds of it in the bag over there. And we're going to recreate a Bronze Age smelting technique where we dig a pit into the ground. This goes down about 1.5 feet and it's only about 6 inches wide. And then I'm digging in another shaft here from the side where the air is going to come through. And then we're going to do layers of charcoal and ground up ore. Get out of there, cat. There you go. Layers of crushed up ore and charcoal on top of each other. And they're going to sink down into the fire. And the atmosphere is going to cause a chemical reaction which is going to change this into copper. And from there we might make something out of it.
This is Joseph digging his copper smelt, and his fierce attack dog Seal helping him. Well, yeah, he's a cat. Seal's a cat, but every man needs an attack dog. And since we don't have a dog, Seal is it. This is him. Yep, digging his dog hole with Joey.
We've got a central pit here, which is basically going to be a chimney. This is where those layers of charcoal and ore are going to be layered and burned down into the pit. It reaches down a little past my elbow, so it's about 1.5 feet deep. Here we have a second hole. This one connects into the first, but this is where we're going to feed air into the fire, right at the base of it. And I'm probably just going to use a hairdryer for that, rather than the bag bellows, which would have been more period accurate. There we go. From this point, we're going to begin adding layers of the ore, and officially I should grind it first. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work. Well, we've been at it for about 2.5 hours, maybe 3, and I've crushed up a piece of rock, maybe about the size of that big one there. Have definitely not used all the ore. Charcoal, we went through a lot more of that. This bucket was full when we started, so you can see how much fuel it required. We had flames coming out of this thing pretty good, and managing it was a beast. I'll give some tips on things that I noticed and what worked and what didn't in a minute. But let's check real quick and see if we can't see the copper bloom forming at all. See, here's the mouth of the tuyer. It's the metal pipe running down through. And there seems to be a big lump of something formed around it. This part that's sticking out. And I would be willing to bet that that is our copper, if indeed we got any. The pit goes down quite a bit further than the top of that tuyer, but that seems to be where everything collected. We'll wait and see. Here I've got a piece of that lump that we found forming by the tuyer, and it appears to me that it is a solid lump of slag. We'll have to break it apart and see if that is the case, but no apparently visible copper here. Unless that is what I think it is. Let's keep looking. Put some water in it about a minute ago, filled the entire thing, and it's boiled down very quickly. If you keep watching, it'll probably descend a little bit more. There's some interesting things I'm noticing here about the sides of the smelter. First, you'll notice that the edge of the pit, where it used to be sand and gravel, has seemed to fuse into one coalesced mass, or at least have a hard surface, kind of like pottery. And then here on the side, let me gesture with a stick, I don't want to touch it. Right here, you'll notice this granular area. I'm assuming this is where we put in our sand, our ground up material. And if that's the case, then I went way overkill on the depth of my pit. If I were to do this in the future, I would keep my pit depth to about 6 to 10 inches. And then I might have to learn the same thing all over again and go even smaller. But that would be my next starting place. This looks to be ash, or some kind of rock that got eaten away. The white stuff here. Anyway, another detail, I had to work really hard to get this shop vac over here to be a reliable blower. I actually took the fan that they use to keep the thing from overheating, and I fed the air out of the top of that. I duct taped it in place and wound that all the way down here to the tuyer. But even that was way too much air. I think if I were to do it in the future, I would use a smaller fan and a shallower pit. And probably higher quality ore, but you work with what you got. If you read history books about early human civilization, there's probably a statement like, early iron smelting was probably discovered by accident when someone built a kiln with those special red rocks, and then they noticed puddles forming of metal, because metal melts in heat, and fire is heat, and so it just melts. Like that. Or there's a hilarious picture that I found once in a children's book. It showed a picture of some people with this little river of copper running out of a furnace, and they said, "Oh, you used the green rocks again, didn't you?" I have a message for those archaeologists who believe that this was discovered by accident. Try to do it on purpose. If you've ever tried copper smelting, please comment below and let us know if it was a success or a failure. And be sure to subscribe and give us a thumbs up. It's harder than it looks.